Okay, so we are back for the 5th walkthrough, second one for this week, where we're going to follow on from the roasted pepita dukkha that we made in the last video to make some wakame gomasio, or seaweed gomasio. So seaweed is like nature's dried version of like a hair, skin and nails formula. There are so many nutrients. It is shelf stable, which is amazing, which means if you want to use it sometimes and then not use it for ages, you haven't lost any of your hard-earned pennies. And I think that's a part that is an important sort of tenet to what I like to do, is that it shouldn't be super expensive. You don't want to be spending $50 to make 2 meals or 2 products, and I guess a really good example of that is a lot of the raw desserts that they have around at the moment. Well, not at the moment, it's been years, but using that much expensive organic fat, i.e. nuts, to be able to make sweet treats, and then module dates that are expensive as well, I think it's not necessarily the best use of our dollars, says the ever frugal Asja, which I don't know where that's come from. Maybe it's that whole migrant family thing that keeps carrying through. But we're going to make a seaweed gomasio, which is pretty much seaweed, all those nutrients, salt. We're going to use the wet Celtic sea salt, but you can use a pink salt, preferably from Australia. Once again, we've got more nutrients compared to table salt. So it's a really beautiful way to go. Mix those two together with some fat from some sesame seeds and some spice from some cayenne pepper, and that's going to make a really nice nutrient-dense sprinkle to be able to use on your avo on toast, to season brown rice, to season a cauli rice. It's a lovely condiment to have on hand. How we're going to have it today is then make a cashew cheese and serve it up with a little bit of dried fruit and some veg. But you're just going to start to see that versatility throughout those products. So I have not washed my food processor since the roasted pepita. These ones you can just build in succession. It's amazing. Also, you can use wakame. Wakame is an amazing seaweed to be able to use, but in the interest of showing you how easy it can be, all of the ingredients can generally be picked up from Woolies or Coles. So without having to change any other habits from what you're currently doing, you can still experience lots of deliciousness. So I've got 2 nori sheets that I am going to give it a little bit of a hand and crumble it in. See how they go post-humid Brisbane weather. They can soak up a little bit of moisture regardless of the sachets that they've put in there to dry it out. But I don't tend to mind if it's got quite a chunky kind of feel to it anyway. So I popped those 2 in there. I decided to roast off our beautiful sesame seeds, or not roast, just dry roasted in a pan. Got nice deep colour on them. It's going to add an extra toasty kind of flavour to this wakame or seaweed gomasio mix. Cayenne pepper. I didn't mention this in the last video. Pure Food Essentials is one of my favourite brands. You get so much bang for your buck, and being organic, I mean, a lot of the spices and things that we import, of course Australia has a nice range and a growing range of pesticide-free spices. Most that come in need to be irradiated, so even if they say organic on them and pass that certification, it's not necessarily true or as authentic as it can be. These guys, an amazing way to go. I am going to be a little bit generous with this kick. I'm going to go like close to a teaspoon of cayenne. If you love dried ginger, this would be a perfect place for it as well. We have got some punch and some salt. So sort of like that traditional Asian kind of seasoning going on in there. I'm going to give it a quick blitz as per usual. If you were getting into the whole Buddha bowl scenario, making really beautiful nourish bowls with some lovely cooked grains and that sort of thing, this is a perfect way to be able to sprinkle that on top of a bowl of brown rice with some gorgeous veg some fresh sprouts, a little bit of avocado, this with some fresh lemon and lime, you're building up a really nutrient-dense kind of deal. And that's that guy done. Those roasted sesame seeds, I guess that's one of those amazing flavors that you just can't, it's quite addictive. And that being said, like, being able to roast sesame seeds rather than using a sesame oil is a beautiful way to go as well. Sesame oil, unless you can buy very small batches of very good quality, what you're going to find is that they are rancid quite quickly. So this is our wakame Gomasio. Super delicious. I'm going to pop that onto our little plate of yumminess that we have here. And we're going to get on to make the beautiful cashew cheese. I've been soaking the cup of cashew seeds since this morning. I'm going to drain them off. Once again, I'm going to chuck them straight back in to this unwashed seaweed and sesame mix. I'm going to add a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is a deactivated yeast that is really rich in B vitamins and adds that cheesy kind of flavor. Cashew cheese is one of those amazing things where if you're trying to reduce the amount of dairy that you're having, cashew cheese is a beautiful substitute to have in terms of salad wraps, salad rolls and things like that, to give that unctuousness that like a whipped feta or a cheddar will do within a sandwich, and you're being able to reduce that dairy as well. I do still include some really awesome sources of dairy in my diet. I'm happy to do that. I don't have any intolerances, and I do feel better without a whole lot of dairy, and I guess that's where nutritional yeast became really, really beneficial for me. So I've got the nutritional yeast. I'm going to add salt. I can feel my mouth already going like yum, 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 between the roasted sesame seeds and the gorgeous nutritional yeast. My body knows what's coming. To sort of jump over to sweet stuff at the moment, this same recipe you can take, not put the nutritional yeast in, and opt for a touch of maple and a little bit of vanilla, and then you've got kind of like a sweet cashew cream. That would be perfect. I picked up some persimmons at the markets on the weekend, and I've got some rhubarb there, so I think I'm going to make a little crumble to be able to have with the granola we made last week, and a sweet cashew cheese as well. And I think that's just, it highlights the way that I like to cook. These are template recipes that you can use in lots of different ways, and then use what's in season to guide what you're going to create. Just juicing off a lemon to include into our mix, and then we're going to head over behind us and whiz it up. I am going to add about 1/4 cup of water at this stage, just to get things moving. Err on the side of, like, be conservative with adding your water. Start with just a couple of tablespoons. You don't want to be using a whole lot of organic cashews to be able to get your consistency back up. So err on the side of caution. Scrapes down as you go. I am going to add an extra 1/4 cup. That will take me up to the 1/2 cup that I've outlined in the recipe. But because you never know what your cashews are doing, in terms of like how dehydrated they were, how much water they took up when you were soaking them. Just always be conservative. delicious. I'm going to pop that onto our veggie plate as well. Oh, that smell is ridiculous. So I'm going to show you this little plate again. So there we go, just like a nice little selection of whatever you have on hand. Of course, as you said, I've spoken so many different ways as to how you can use these condiments as well, but I think this is a really